How a tariff enacted in 1930 caused the crash of 1929. This chart depicts the two steepest crashes for the stock market for between 1925 and 1932. The first crash was caused by the announcement on October 23, 1929, that the Senate had the sufficient votes to pass the Smoot-Hawley tariff. The second was caused by Smoot-Hawley being passed by both houses of Congress and being signed into law by President Hoover on June 17, 1930. Instead of blaming Smoot-Hawley, all historians, including Encyclopedia Britannica, the History Channel, and Wikipedia, etc., have wrongly blamed rampant speculation, the Roaring Twenties, and fraud for the crash of 1929. How could a tariff which only became official in June 1930 be the cause of an October 29 crash? The market fell by 7.8% after the U.S. House of Representatives Ways and Means Committee announced that they were scheduling tariff testimony hearings in December 1928. When a U.S. Senator in March of 1928 predicted that the Senate could have difficulties in limiting the scope of the tariff, the market fell by 2.8%. The market declined by 3.6% after the House of Representatives passed a broad version of the tariff in May 1929. When the Senate announced on October 23, 1929, that they not only had the votes to pass the tariff, but also for a broad scope, the market fell by 23.1% over the next 6 days. After it was announced that 1,028 economists had signed a petition asking President Hoover to veto Smoot-Hawley in May of 1930, the market declined by 5.1%. After the U.S. Senate passed Smoot-Hawley in June of 1930, and the President announced that he would not veto the bill, the market declined by 12.4% from June 13 to June 18, 1930. At the end of 1930, which was more than a year after the crash, the unemployment rate had only increased to 8.7%, which had been its high for the prior 10 years. It was because of Smoot-Hawley that the unemployment rate soared to over 20% before Roosevelt was elected. After Roosevelt and the Democrats took control of both houses of Congress in 1932, they quickly neutralized the Smoot-Hawley. This resulted in unemployment peaking shortly thereafter. The 24.8% average annual return for the market during the 1920-1929 secular bull pales in comparison to the 1982-2000 bull's 78.3% average return per annum. The returns for the bull that ended in 1929 are comparable to the returns for the bull that likely ended in 2018. This chart depicts the devastating effect that Smoot-Hawley's passage had on investors. Even after the crash, the market had continued on with its uptrend. It's clear that when Smoot-Hawley became law in June 1930, investors threw in the towel and liquidated their holdings. In 2002, President Bush instituted steel tariffs. It resulted in the market having declined 28.7% by the tariff's first anniversary. Bush eliminated the tariff in 2003. Due to the bubbles that have formed in the market, it's ripe for a crash. There's a video entitled Bubbles Putting Market on Verge of Crash, which is available at dynastywealth.com, that explains why the huge bubble on the far right is extremely dangerous. The market's most recent dividend yield of 1.7%, the second lowest for dividend yield since 1870, is another reason why the market is ripe for a crash or significant correction. The discovery about Smoot-Hawley being the cause of the crash of '29 was made by Michael Markowski, who is a market crash expert. After Michael conducted an autopsy on Enron to enable him to discover what caused its sudden bankruptcy, he developed an algorithm that he utilized to predict the demise of Lehman, Bear Stearns, and Merrill Lynch in September of 2007. This is a copy of his Equities Magazine column. Become a member of dynastywealth.com to get access to Mr. Markowski's fascinating crash articles and updates on our crash videos. The videos include Bubbles Putting Market on Verge of a Crash and the Profit from the Coming Crash video, which provides information about the only fail-safe strategy that will protect liquid assets from crashes, recessions, and depressions.